welcome back to the 5th episode of the Director's Table. Today we've got Michael Anderson from Virginia, local director, and Athena Delgado, national director, are both here. Mike, how you doing today?
Doing good. Thanks for asking. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, appreciate it. We've got a submission form for the Director's Table, and had a couple submissions come in for you, which prompted us to look a little bit more closely and then reach out for the invitation today. So we just got a few questions to ask you. Ready to go?
Yeah, sure. Let's hit it.
All right. So, probably the easiest question to ask most people is, how'd you get started in the cornhole world and kind of how long, have you been doing it, things like that?
Yeah, well, I got introduced to it by a former student. The thing I was telling Todd before you came on. I used to teach college, and a former student introduced it to me. So I started playing recreationally and did what most people do: built my own set of boards. Downloaded a plan from the internet, built the boards, and started playing. I felt like I was becoming, sort of decent, and somewhere around 2019, 2018. I decided to do my first blind draw to see how I, compared to people that were, better players, and, realized I could sort of hold my own, and started going regularly to the blind draws and everything. And then right before COVID, one of the local players did this Facebook interview, said, "Hey, name the top 20 players, on the Virginia Peninsula." And out of all the submissions, I only appeared on one, and that was the one that I submitted. And so I sort of took that as a challenge, and then, started playing more. And then, of course, COVID hit. And then right after COVID, started playing more, became a member of the ACL, started doing the regionals, the local points, blind draws. And a couple of years ago, I had the opportunity to take over as a local director for Mike Morton. I don't know if you know who he is or not. And the rest is history,
Yeah.
So I sort of followed that traditional path to playing cornhole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, that's awesome. So one of the submissions said that you've done a great job increasing, the novice and intermediate divisions in your area. Do you have any strategies that you've found to be more successful in that?
Yeah, our numbers started to sort of go down a little bit. And I noticed two things over time, like during a traditional blind draw, is the novice and intermediate players were sort of intimidated, when they drew an advanced player or pro. We have a lot of pros in this area, or a pro player or something. And then, of course, the advanced players, they would, they'd get upset because they drew a novice and intermediate player. So one week I just took a chance, and I started holding 2 tournaments each night. I started holding a blind draw for the novice and intermediate players, and I started holding a tournament for the competitive and advanced, players. And within 2 weeks, my numbers had doubled, and it was just off the charts because the novice and intermediate players now had what I call a safe place to play without fear of intimidation or, feeling, like they let their partner down or whatever. And then, the competitive advanced players liked it because they were, to use their words, they were getting a decent partner and, had a better chance of winning. And it allowed the novice and intermediate players a chance to win money and place in tournaments when, under a traditional blind draw, they may not have had that opportunity. Mm-hmm. And so I started advertising that, and then I picked up another tournament during the week. So I run a tournament on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and I started doing the same thing on the Tuesday tournament. But now I've sort of switched it up a little bit because it's that time of the year where people are on vacation and people are not playing inside, they're playing outside and things like that. Mm-hmm. So what I do is if there's not enough to hold, the novice and intermediate bracket, I just combine everybody and I do the A-B bracket. So that way it's pretty much ensured that, 2A players are not going to get paired together. And it sort of levels the playing field. And I've seen really good success with that. And I think that's one of the key things as to why my numbers have grown so much over the last 6 to 8 months. So. And I tell other directors all the time, look, if you're not running a separate tournament for novice and intermediate, you're really missing the boat, because now they can come out and play and don't have to worry about letting somebody down, and they're playing with people at their own level, and they're winning money, and it's awesome, so.
Yeah, well, I was one of those people that would go to the blind draw, get partnered with a good player who would immediately roll his eyes, saying, "Uh-oh, I got this guy." So I would have appreciated a 2-division system. Now let's say somebody like me comes and I say, "Nah, I'm clearly a novice intermediate player, but I want to play with the big boys or the big girls today." And how do you handle that if it's a lower skilled player that wants to jump up and play, knowing that those top players may get frustrated?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. If I don't know you, first thing I'll do is I'll look at your PPR, and not that PPR is a true indicator of your playing ability. Personally, I think the point differential indicates more than the PPR does. But I look at your PPR, and if you're below the threshold for a competitive player based on the ACL guidelines, I'll have a conversation with you, and then usually probably 98, 99% of the time, I'll say, okay, you can play. We call it downstairs at Vanguard because we have 2 levels. So the novice and intermediate play upstairs, and everybody else plays downstairs. I'll be like, yeah, Todd, you can play downstairs, and see what happens. And sometimes if I know that the person is just really not that good because I know how they play, a lot of times I'll just go ahead and pair them with myself, just so that it won't upset some of the other players and things like that. Because I'm running the tournament. It doesn't really matter to me one way or the other. I mean, I like to win naturally, but I also like to keep people happy so they keep coming back. Mm-hmm. But I would let you play, and then afterwards, depending on how you did, we'd have a conversation. It's like last night. I had an intermediate player. His PPR is 6.74, and he signed up to play downstairs, and we had a conversation. I said, okay, you can play down here, and him and his partner ended up winning. So, the guy shot lights out. He ended up shooting 2 points over his PPR. So what do I know, right? So,
yeah, that's great.
So sometimes it works out. Sometimes people realize that they don't belong downstairs just yet, and and it just tends to work itself out. So,
cool. Yeah, thanks. And what sort of, you said you're running Tuesdays and Wednesdays. What sort of formats are you finding that are you're using that are being like the most popular and the most asked or talked about or requested?
Yeah, so on Tuesday nights, it's sort of a different demographic than what I attract on Wednesday nights. So on Tuesday nights, I typically run a 4-game swap, and then we'll split it in half based on the PPR results from the swap. Every other week on Tuesday nights, I run a crew cup, which people, for whatever reason, people love the crew cup. But the way I do it is, once everybody's registered, I'll download the CSV of the players. I sort it by PPR, and I divide by 4. So if there's 20 people, the top 5 players in PPR will be the team captains, and then you have the next 5 will be B players, the next 5 will be C players, and the next 5 will be D players. And then I have poker chips, red, white, and blue, one for B, C, and D. And then I make the team captains come up to the table, and every one of them draws a red, white, and blue chip, so everybody can see who's drawing what. So I'm not manipulating the teams at all. Mm-hmm. And so what that does is the teams are evenly divided between an A, B, C, and D player. And, that seems to work. But on Wednesday nights, because it's such a a more competitive crowd. I typically do a traditional blind draw at the end of the month. I'll either do a big money night where it's $20 entry fee, or I'll do a bring your own partner. And it attracts people from all over Hampton Road. I don't know if you're familiar with this area, but it attracts people from all over Hampton Roads. I don't tinker too much with Wednesday night because of the type of people that are playing, and the blind draw just works there.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, cool. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, that's great. So it sounds like you have, I guess, lots of conversations with a lot of the players, which is good. So do you ever incorporate any feedback that they ever give you to either improve or make changes to anything that you do on your regular nights?
I do. I mean, a good example is the splitting of the brackets from between novice and intermediate, competitive and higher. I ran it a couple of times, and I got feedback from both levels, right? And so I kept that. The reason I started running a crew cup every other week is somebody suggested it. And I knew that Ashley Kearns had been successful in running them up at Mac Cornhole up in Fredericksburg. So I ran a crew cup one night, and it just exploded, man. Everybody loved it. And so started doing that. But yeah, for the most part, if their ideas are pretty decent and it's not going to interfere with what we're trying to do, which is grow the game and getting people the most exposure and allowing them to play the most number of games, then I usually am pretty good about accepting their feedback. So
that's great.
Now, do you do anything with your local groups in terms, like your local nights, in terms of sponsorship or funding for your league operations that you've either that you do or you find successful?
I don't do much. We do have one vendor that pays into the pot on Wednesday nights, but I haven't really pursued going out and get sponsorships. I take that back. Really, on Tuesday nights, SIVA Cornhole sponsors the boards. They supplied us the boards and the score towers, so they've been really good with that. And then on Wednesday nights, the facility that we play in on Wednesday nights, they donate money to the pot and everything. But I haven't really gone out and strayed too far about getting sponsorships at the local level. But I think going forward in the upcoming season, I may do that, because with all the changes that are coming, particularly with the boards in 2026, there's going to have to be some way for myself and other local directors to pay for the boards and pay for these changes. So
yeah, and that's something, we're certainly working on behind the scenes to help give local directors some resources to make sure they can be successful with that. Yeah, because definitely a big change coming for that. So, all right.
Yeah, but I've had other establishments reach out too, because of they keep hearing the success that we've had at the two places that I run tournaments, and so I get a lot of feedback from them as to what they're looking for and stuff like that. But yeah, no.
How big are your the two venues that you're using right now in terms of like how many sets are you able to run each night?
So both establishments, I'm very comfortable and can easily run 6 sets of boards. I can run 7 if needed. Like on my bring your own partners during the winter when nobody is playing outside, I typically have to run 7 sets of boards because bring your own partners around here are just phenomenal. Everybody wants to play with their own person. But yeah, I've traditionally run 6 sets, and I can run 7.
That's
easily.
Perfect. Yeah, that's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, do you have anything else that you want to share with us that we didn't necessarily get to or ask?
No, I wasn't expecting that.
You've got an open mic right now.
No, I do want to talk about something. As you can see, I wore my Virginia Snipers shirt. I saw your interview with the gentleman from Europe, and y'all were talking about clubs and stuff over there.
Mhm.
And that's what myself and other snipers are trying to do here, because we have, there are about 4 or 5 clubs that have been established. You got the snipers, you have the backyard assassins, you got the bag bandits, you got this one group, they call themselves the posse. And what I've been trying to do is work with the leaders of those other clubs and trying to get like a league going, to where weekly or monthly we all get together and play each other and stuff like that. Because I love the club concept. I mean, if you've played sports, like softball or whatever, kickball, you're always in a league. So I'm trying to do the same thing here. So I thought it was very interesting in that interview that he brought up the concept of how they use clubs over there to spread the word about cornhole. So yeah, I just wanted you guys to know I'm working on that, but I got to represent the snipers though. That's the premier club. So yeah.
That really, just my experience in Europe over the last 2 years has really got me kind of rethinking how we approach things here in the U.S., which was somewhat of a catalyst going towards the community model going into next year, where players they're really tied to their groups. They love playing with their groups, whether it's the snipers, it's triple play, and where Athena's at, the players like to associate with different clubs. So I'm pretty excited about seeing groups like yourself in your area, how that kind of unfolds over the next few years. So
yeah, it's pretty interesting. About a year ago, I'm not going to name the name of the group, but one of the groups came over to my Wednesday establishment, and about 10 of them came in. They were sporting their jerseys and stuff like this, and I'm like, okay, all right, let's see what's going on. And and we sent them packing, and they ain't been back since. And so I've been trying to get them to come back or play us or whatever. But I don't know, a little bit of pride issue there, I guess. But it's all in good faith, because I'll tell you, you guys know this. The cornhole community is just awesome, And so even though there's a lot of ribbing and stuff going on between the clubs and everything, it's all in good nature. And so we respect each other's games, respect each other as people. But yeah, I would love to see that happen around here, because this is a big area, and we've got a lot of players here. So if we could somehow formalize the leagues and stuff like that, I think it would be awesome. It would help grow the game. So
cool.
But snipers for life. I want to make that clear.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I see, the clubs, especially the leadership within the clubs, like yourself, the directors, when those directors are really open to the competition and not threatened by the other clubs, I see just so much the progress that groups and areas make is so much bigger in those areas where the directors are kind of working hand in hand together, as opposed to trying to undercut each other, things like that.
Yeah. There's nothing to be threatened about. I mean, we all started at the same place, right? And we all started as backyard players, and some of us have practiced and gotten a little bit better, and some of us haven't. But yeah, I would just like to see it, just more of the club play, if for no other reason, just for bragging rights, But because we all play against each other in regionals and some of the local benefit tournaments that we all support. So it's not unusual to go to a regional and all of a sudden you've got snipers, you've got bag bandits, you've got backyard assassins there, and we're all under one roof, and we're all of the same family, the way I like to look at it. So yeah, what do families do? They compete with each other, right?
Play with each other, they fight with each other.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they're together.
Yeah. So, but I just appreciate the opportunity, guys. I really don't know who submitted my name and stuff to be interviewed, but I just appreciate the opportunity, and it's a pleasure talking to both of you. So.
Well, yeah, and thank you for making the time. I know on short notice too, for making the time with us today. So appreciate all your insight and everything you had to share.
Yep, not a problem.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Mike. Well, again, thanks again for joining us today, and we're going to try to get this published this Sunday, so you can then go ahead and share it with your group if you'd like. So.
Well, there's one thing people will say about me. I'm a good self-promoter, man. So everybody I know is going to see this link.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Maybe we're still early on, but there's got to be some sort of competition on which of these interviews has the most views. So sounds like to the task.
All right, let's go. Let's go. So I'm all about competition, man. So
all right. Thanks, Mike.
All right, you guys take care.